Charlemagne the God as Dems work to transcend a weak party brand ahead of next year's midterms. Joining me now, Molly Jong-Fast, MSNBC political analyst, special correspondent with Vanity Fair and host of the Fast Politics podcast, and Rina Shah, geopolitical advisor and former senior GOP congressional advisor. Molly, react to Charlemagne. What do you think about his basically rallying call about affordability?
You know, Charlemagne is really smart. And I actually was I didn't know whether it was him going on Fox or her going on The Breakfast Club. And you see what he's doing here, which
just
is
the pairing was interesting.
But it's also like he's going everywhere, right? Charlemagne is, you know, politically, he's sort of a centrist, but more left. And that he's going on Fox to have that conversation is meaningful because he's going in front of her audience versus she's going in front of his audience. And I think that's really important. Like when people on the left or voices that are not in lockstep can get platformed on Fox News, it's super important that they do it. And that's what we're seeing. And look, he's right. Obviously, inflation, you know, Trump, the whole time, he had a weave for groceries and inflation. He would say bacon, and his people would know what he was talking about was the price of bacon. Now, of course, and if you're going to say anything was a mandate, that was a mandate. Now, of course, what's happened subsequently is that he has done these tariffs, which are wildly inflationary.
Okay, so Rina, the president's party traditionally loses seats in the midterm year, but can Democrats really rely on that history if the economy decides to pick up more than expected?
Well, I think right now Democrats are in damage control. You know, what they've admitted is essentially that their brand is bruised with something like a 19% approval rating, even among their own base, disapproving by 13 some points. What I see is Democrats are pushing members to tout local wins, right? Hammer Trump's unpopular bill on Medicaid cuts and exploit issues like the Epstein files handling to wedge the GOP base. But fate-wise, if that's what you're asking, you know, look, I'm optimistic about a 2006 style backlash per Gillibrand, you know, but with a red map and recruitment flops, it's uphill. And I can say very safely that their chaos in D.C. is self-inflicted. Voters want results, not dysfunction. And if they don't pivot hard, 2026 could be another wave election for Republicans.
What kind of... You don't think so?
No.
Okay, react to that.
It's not going to be a wave election for Republicans. Now, will Trump gerrymander the map? Maybe. I mean, he's certainly interested in doing it. I don't think it's going to be a wave election for Republicans. The BBB is wildly unpopular. They still haven't been able to sell it. The polling on Epstein is way underwater. I mean, Trumpism doesn't scale. We've seen that for a decade. You know, just ask Carrie Lake, governor of Arizona.
Let's talk about gerrymandering for a minute there, since you brought it up. Texas obviously seems like 5 more seats going to the Republicans. Now Governor Gavin Newsom is threatening to do something similar in California. Is that a good move or not?
Yeah, I think look, I think you're in an existential crisis for American democracy, right? And you have a autocratic, curious, maybe autocratic leaning, maybe autocrat who is president, who is trying to consolidate power in a number of different ways. So, of course, it's scary. And I think this is at this point, I think Democrats have to do it. I think their hand has been forced, and I think that it's the only way. But certainly, it shows that there have been reforms that were not made, that should have been made. It shows a lack. I mean, this is the thing that I'm always struck by. Congress has had opportunities to regulate things, and they have not. And what's happened is things like this, right? Like we should have one rule for redistricting, and it should be a federal rule. It should not be a state rule. States should not be able to redistrict willy-nilly based on their partisan affiliation. But at this point, we're so far down the rabbit hole, I don't think there's any choice.
Rina, your thoughts on that? Can you respond?
Well, I'm part of a growing chorus of Republicans around the country who have always called for independent redistricting commissions. I think they are growing in popularity because people are tired of the tricks that parties play. Look, I'm not a full-on partisan here, but I do see the problem with both sides. I'll just say for Dems in the 2026-2028 plan, I mean, I still see Democrats scrambling for 2026 by recruiting these so-called crossover stars, people like Roy Cooper in North Carolina, or trying to lure Sherrod Brown back in Ohio, folks who wanted red territory before. But it's all about distancing from their toxic national national brand. And that's really what I want to draw emphasis to here is, Democrats are banking on local authenticity to flip seats. But they need just 3 in the House and 4 in the Senate. I want to remind the audience. But for 2028, it's early, but they're eyeing governors or fresh faces to rebuild after that drubbing of 2024. And they're hoping that anti-Trump energy carries over. The problem is with their approval at a dismal 19% in that Quinnipiac poll, it's like trying to sell ice in Antarctica. Voters just aren't buying the chaos and dysfunction.
I don't think that's right. I think the polls show that people who are Democrats are mad at Democrats because they want them to do more, but they're not going to Donald Trump. And in fact, neither party is particularly popular. I think that's wrong. Also, Cooper from North Carolina is wildly popular. It's a huge recruitment win for Democrats. I think that I don't see why that wouldn't be a win. And I also think Harris lost, but they were able to keep a bunch of Senate seats, which was unusual. And while it was absolutely, another Donald Trump reelection, I do not think it was a referendum on Democrats quite that same way.
We are going to have both of
none of it's fact.
We agree to disagree here on this show, and we will have you both back to have more of a conversation. Molly Jong-Fast and Rina Shah, thank you both for the lively discussion.